Welcome to Kamjiverse. This is your exclusive bridge between the legacy of classical Africa and the triumphs of modern African revolutions. You won't find this connection anywhere else. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with friends and family. Become a channel member or join our Patreon. The links are waiting in the description. Let's honor our sacred legacy and ignite our future together.
So in my recent video, FBA Langley, calls on Kenya to crush Traore. There was a comment that I want to respond to. It says, why do you attack FBA group so vociferously, but don't seem to have the same fire for Africans working with enemies? I'm listening to the language that you used, and you attach feces label to the FBA grouping. But I did not hear you use that to describe Ruto and his ilk. Well, this person is obviously, first off, not familiar with my channel. And notice how he used FBA as a group. All over the internet, these fecal brain assimilationists claim that they're not a group. It's not a group. There's no leader. It's a lineage. It's a lineage. It's a lineage, basically using FBA as a placeholder for Black American. And even when people, unlearned people unknowingly use this, like Ryan Coogler, in the interview that he did for Democracy Now!, he referred to FBA as it means Black American, as many, Marcus Vincent Thomas, the leader of FBA, purport it to mean Black American. But here this commenter is calling it a group as he defends the group. Now let's continue. As someone who believes in Pan-Africanism, I think tribalism from any side is antithetical to our goals. I don't know you personally, but I believe that you are your immediate family from the continent. Do you think that your language is more harmful than helpful? So obviously this person isn't familiar with my channel. I go after Panos or Pan-Africans in name only, Wangstas, West African nationalists, Kunologists. I go after them plenty of times. I'm against tribalism, ethno-nationalism, I'm definitely, my channel definitely is against ethnocentrism to that degree. Now the fecal brain assimilationists, they are what you would refer to as Black people who promote, white supremacist ideology, and not just in like a Kanye West type of trolling sense, but in the sense of the core of their ideology is rooted in Tantonism or John Tanton. And they are derived from the Yvette Carnelian wing of Tantonism, primarily the Progressives for Immigration Reform. Everything that you see going on with the ICE raids, with this whole called staying home, and a lot of these reactionary Black folk who are acting as if they're more revolutionary than the so-called Latino community, but they support U.S. imperialism. These people who try to weaponize their lineage within the United States as a way of promoting U.S. imperialism and as a way of being against international solidarity. They are the American version of the Wangsta, or the West African nationalist Kunologist, or these Pan-Africanists in name only, like Paul Biya and Paul Kagame. These individuals on a lower level are the American version of that. And Langley in his role within AFRICOM in promoting U.S. imperialism as the fecal-brained American, fecal-brained assimilationist, flag-waving, trying to make Juneteenth an RBG holiday, red, white, and blue, practicing all types of Kunology, saying that they're closer to American slave-owning presidents than they are to Black people in other countries. This is the type of Kunology that I attack and that I will continue to, be against on this channel. Right? So, and then what is he saying? African Americans claim to get disrespect from Africans and vice versa. I don't think you are assuaging that claim by appearing to be partisan and biased in the way that you cover topics like this. You could call me a Pan-African nationalist. I call that being godly, right? You could call me a Black nationalist, whatever. I call that being godly. An anti-ethnocentrist. I call that being divine. All of these things mean the same thing to me. So yeah, in the sense of being against the divine as opposed to the evil and calling out evil, I will call out what I see as evil. And whether you believe in the scriptures or just logic and common sense, the fecal brain assimilationists, as well as the abysmal Dalmatians of Sylvania, are a reactionary cohort designed to denigrate Black people and designed to ruin the chances of black liberation. So he says, as an aside, you are a very intelligent and well-informed brother. You present a wealth of information in your videos and discussions. Just because a black person is born in the USA or has lineage here does not make them part of the FBA politics. I think it is disingenuous for you to do that. Well, Michael Langley, in his approach to Burkina Faso, is FBA. Don't get distracted by, Marcus Vincent Thomas's propaganda and him trying to ride the wave. Jeremy Lloyd Smith, aka Jason Black. Jeremy Lloyd Smith, and Michael Langley are from the same city in Shreveport, Louisiana. So some of the same propagandists who are propagating this FBA bowel movement are from Shreveport and from Alabama, some of the same places that you see these Black American identity extremists. Langley's role within African politics has been damaging, extremely damaging, being a black-faced used by U.S. imperialists to harm the chances for black liberation, to harm independent movements on the African continent designed to build agency and autonomy for men, women, and children, black men, women, and children on the ground, right? This is what Langley represents. So of course, we're going to go after him. Of course, we're going to oppose him. Of course, we're going to associate him with the fecal brain assimilationists. Look at what he's doing in Cameroon. He has all this to say about Ibrahim Traore, but nothing to say about AFRICOM's operations in Cameroon. AFRICOM's operation facilitating a genocide of Western Cameroonians, Bamileke and Grassfields people, right? Facilitating these ethnic conflicts, right? Perpetuating ethnocentrism, ethno-nationalism, so-called tribalism, and Langley, fecal brain assimilationist, supports this. The same way that the FBA Kunologists supported the Dudula Kun movement in Azania. Agent movements designed to hurt Mozambicans and Zimbabweans and other people who so-called were not born in South Africa, the, post-apartheid state, the post-Codesa fraud state, right? People who were not born within that fraudulent apartheid white monopoly capital contraption, they're against. Revolutionaries who supported Chris Hani. Revolutionaries who supported Sobukwe. People who were part of these organizations. Pan-African Congress, Garveyans throughout South Africa. They're a completely reactionary movement. And if you can't see that just by looking at their talking points, looking at who they associate themselves with, looking at how they basically use John Tanton, their ideological daddy, to paint, white talking points black. Even if you look at, Marcus Vincent Thomas and the fact that, his great-grandmother, Bedwench, who married a white man during Jim Crow. Her great-grandmother, his great-grandmother, calling him her is actually kind of funny because he's a covert fairy if you look at a lot of his content. Buck-breaking, nonetheless. This individual is a complete fraud. You want to talk about lineage? You want to talk about reparations? You want to talk about who owes reparations? You want to talk about who would have to pay reparations if there was a commission today? Octavia Rousseau, great-grandmother, 1881 to 1951. Married a white man, Charles Boutte, in the early 20th century during Jim Crow. Her grandfather, Anne-Francois Rousseau, participant in the illegal slave trade. Tethered, born in France in 1798, moved to Louisiana to participate in the illegal slave trade. The lineage of the founder of FBA is more responsible for reparations payments than anybody. Legitimately. And we're going to keep fighting this fight. You're not going to be able to silence us. We recognize the fraud of these movements and the fraud of these characters, and you'll never stop us from calling it out. So all respect to this commenter, but you got to be more familiar with my channel. We oppose ethnocentrism. We oppose, these tribalist reactionaries wherever we find them, and we move forward in favor of black liberation, salvation, and redemption. And that's all I got on this topic. Peace. Hope to catch you on the next one.
Join the Kamjiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.